And we're back. This is episode 63 of the Wilderness Locals podcast. And our guest is our friend, Jeff Agostinho. He just got back from a stone sheep hunt and he has some stories to tell. This podcast is brought to you by Kafaru International, the toughest hunting gear on the planet, bar none. Frontiersman gear, high quality, completely custom, handmade knives made in the heart of the Peace Country. And as always, we're brought to you by Just Shooting Arrows, BC's premier archery shop.
Fuck, dude, I just watched this crazy trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Free Solo? Like Alex Honnold?
Okay. Yeah.
So have you ever heard of Marc-Andre Leclerc?
I think so.
He was like a BC kid.
Great hockey player.
No, Marc-Andre Leclerc, not Marc-Andre Fleury.
Guy
Whatever.
Lafleur.
The most Canadian podcast on the internet.
Oh, God. Are we live already?
Well, why not?
No, might as well. Anyway, so he was just like 25, 26 years old, just doing like these crazy free solo climbs. He'd go off on his own and just do it, like not doing it for the camera or anything like that. He died 3 years ago, but they just released the trailer for a documentary on him. Should be pretty cool.
Oh, wow. That'd be cool. I'll have to check that out. A lot of those climbing documentaries, man, I'm like on the edge of the couch with sweaty hands, like, the whole time.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like Free Solo. And then the other one that's who's in it? Jimmy Chin, Maru. Have you seen Maru?
I don't think so.
Oh, dude, it's wild.
I don't take in a lot of stuff outside of the hunting space, unfortunately.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I was never into it. And you know who got me? Like Lauren Trousdale, he got me into it.
The climbing shows.
Just like all that kind of stuff, the adventure stuff. And it kind of started Sony, like cameras and stuff. They have like a series on YouTube. It's called like Alpha Films or something like that.
Oh yeah, from their Alpha series of bodies, right?
Exactly, yeah. And there's one film, it's like 30, I don't know, I want to say 35 minutes long, and it's about Everest, and it's called The Ghosts Above, I believe.
I think I've seen it. I have seen it.
I watch it like once a month because it's like insane. It's so good.
Well, I mean, all of that climbing stuff, all the expedition stuff, all of the like a lot of those backcountry hiking films, it's like that's basically what we're doing anyways, but they're not trying to kill anything.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so cool. And like Ronnie always makes fun of me and like getting ready for the goat hunt that I just got back from. He's like, "You're not a goat hunter," because I don't really like the steep stuff, you know?
Yeah, man. Some people just don't thrive in it. And I'm not like, I don't mind heights. There's certain things that like, for some reason, if I'm in a tower and I look over the edge, it really bothers me, but I can sit on a mountain and look over the edge and I'm fine. It's real weird. Yeah,
I have certain things, certain things that like just kind of push me over the edge. And fortunately for me, I'm not one of those guys that gets vertigo when they start getting into the cliffy stuff. I know a few guys like that. You put them on like a, in the cliffs there, they start getting dizzy, which could be real dangerous.
Oh, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
I kind of had an interesting conversation on Saturday with a guy. We were talking hunting, and just like packing weight, and like at what point do you need to just stop because your body can't handle it anymore and like take a break? And he's like, it's one thing to be beat and puking or whatever, but he's like, that second that element of dizziness comes in, it's like instantly you just got to stop, right? Like you can't try and push through that stuff.
Yeah, I think there's I think everybody has certain hard stops. And it's stuff that you can overcome by taking a break a lot of times, I find. I mean, it's just like sometimes you just need to sit down and get your shit together, right? I mean, to put it frank. I mean, Wasey will laugh when he listens to this because there were certain parts of our goat hunt where I'm like, Wasey, I need a shoulder to lean on to get down this. I mean, Wasey's got like, I don't know, probably a 40-inch inseam, and I have like a 32-inch inseam, you know, some of those things that he like takes 3 steps and he's down. I'm like baby stepping down to not bail on my face. Right. But, I didn't have any issues with any of the big, steep, nasty stuff, the cliffy stuff that we were doing. The stuff I have issues with is like when it's steep enough that my pack would be touching the downhill or whatever that we were doing. Yeah. And like, I didn't have a long enough inseam to like get down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like you're doing the boot ski down. I hate that.
Yeah, that's not fun. You know, either it's steep then or it's steep enough that when you're trying to climb up, as you're trying to look up, you're hitting the back of your head on your pack. Mm-hmm. And you just can't go anymore.
Mm-hmm. We, when we were coming down, there was a section that when we were heading up, Wasey was like, "Hey, this is going to be a problem for you to get up," just because it's like it was so steep for such a stretch before you could like get another footing, right? Like it was, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 feet of just straight up, right? And Wasey's like, I mean, the guy's like almost a foot taller than me, it seems, but you know, he just like duck right up it. And he was like, "Hey, this is going to be a problem. Like, pass me your bag and you could maybe pick through this with your trekking poles if you collapse some." Right. But man, I was talking to Darren Epp today and he was like, "Hey, sum up your goat hunt in 1 sentence." I don't know what he wanted to know for, maybe part of his, some of his Goat Alliance stuff he's working on. But I was just like, I don't know, equally mentally and physically hard, challenging.
Demanding. Yeah.
That doing goat hunts, that's something different, eh?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I've done quite a few of them, or a fair amount of them now. And It's steep, man. It's not always like long pulls, but they're like steep pulls is what I've noticed.
Yeah. It was cool, man. Me and Wasey are going to hop back on here pretty quick and kind of do a rundown on our hunt and talk about what we learned and takeaways and spoiler alert, one of us got really, really sick from water. And
I was just going to say, are we going to dive into that hole a little bit, or do you want to stay away from that?
We can. I mean, it was to the point that when Waste Dog got back to civilization, he had to go get medication and stuff to deal with it. I think they put him on metronidazole for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things that's kind of the reality of being out there, right? Is there is certain risks and there's certain things that we should be putting in our bodies that come off the mountain.
Yeah. I'm like a hypersensitive wimp when it comes to water. And so like I always pack SteriPen and a pump. And
you have tabs too?
Yeah, I have tabs, but I actually only run the tabs in my bino harness for if I drop my pack. Okay. That way I can just make water. But when I run tabs or iodine, I get, if I run it for more than a day or so, I start feeling yucky. Yeah, I'm just like I said, I'm just like hypersensitive to everything. I think I'm like a harsh nerdy kid, I guess. But no, I was running that MSR trail shot that I was trying this hunt because it's super light, and I wasn't planning on making just absolute huge volume of water and a SteriPen, right?
Yeah, that's what I run too.
Yeah, and Wasey was running Catadine, and we were drinking all the same water. And I think it was either day 2 or 3. We had made a play on some goats, and we were like, I don't know, 8 hours into it, and we were both out of water, and we were way far from camp. And so we had to drop down into kind of the bottom of the valley, the drainage that we were hunting to get water, and we couldn't find water. And then the only water that we could find was pretty dank. It was moving, but it was pretty. I mean, I got a video of Wasey, and I'm like, "Wasey, what do you think of this water?" He's like, "I don't know, man." And we both pumped, and I mean, I was SteriPenning and he wasn't. And I think that's that was the water that got him. I think it was that water anyways, but
so how long after did it take to hit him?
A few days. I mean, I did some research on the topic, and I think like it depends specifically what you have going on in your gut. Like I think like standard Giardia actually has a little bit of a longer, I don't think the term is inoculation time, but I think Giardia takes specifically a little bit longer, but there's a lot of other gut stuff that you can have go sideways that's quicker. Yeah, he was a couple days, and then it was pretty clear that one of us had that he had something going on with his guts there. Yeah.
At least he was off the mountain at that point.
Yeah. Well, we pulled the ripcord when we realized something was up, right? Because we were hitting our weather threshold where if we kind of didn't go down, then we would have had to wait out the weather and kind of with how stuff was progressing. Like I went into that hunt pretty sick, like just ear infection, head cold deal. So I was like, I was finally getting kind of my legs under me, but still not feeling real good. And then we had this gut thing going on, and yeah, no, it was. I think it was a big. I can't say the word, but it was an add up of a bunch of different stuff that we pulled the ripcord and got down before the weather moved in, and it turned out to be the right call because I think it was like 5 or 6 days of nasty weather after that, anyways, and it would not have been fun for spraying out of both ends for the next week after that without medication,
Yeah, that would have been tough for sure. Would have lost a little bit of weight.
I think he did anyways, man. He was he's pretty beat up. I don't want to talk about too much about what he had going on there. That's kind of his story to tell, and
yeah,
it'll be interesting, but it's wild, man. Like I know, man, so many guys I talked to, like Ronnie. I mentioned it to Ronnie what he had going on. He said, "Man, that's crazy." He goes, "I've been hunting in northern BC for 30 years. I've never had that happen." But we were also covered up in wolves and covered up in dead goats. So I was chatting with Grizzly about it, and he goes, what could have happened is pretty nasty. He goes, you guys could have drank some water that had, a carcass of something floating in it a little ways up, right?
It's totally possible. I mean, you guys saw the wolves on dead goats, did you not?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We saw them carrying around goat skulls and stuff like that. It was pretty wild, man. Yeah, no, it was wild. I think the first hour after we had camp set up, we had goats or wolves in camp. So
it's rough. That's not rough. That's wild. It's what it is.
Yeah, it was cool, man. And like, I was kind of disheartened out of the gate because, we had wolves on top of us. And obviously when you're hunting a big game species and you have, you're covered up in a big predator like that and a whole bunch of them, your prospects of killing the species you're hunting kind of slowly that glimmering light sort of slowly fades away when you start realizing how these animals are acting. Like they're acting heavily pressured because they are heavily pressured, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It was cool.
Especially a goat that has the ability to just get into some nasty terrain, right?
And man, that's what they were doing. Like Wasey knows wolves inside and out. Now, like I'm so lucky I had him on that hunt with me to him being my partner on that hunt, because I would have been lost, like how to deal with them and how to approach stuff. At one point, I'll tell the story with him, but at one point we were halfway through this valley and he's like, "Oh yeah, those wolves are going to come check you out." I'm like, "What?"
What do you mean they're going to come check me out?
Exactly. I'm like, "They're wolves. They're going to be scared of us." He's like, "I don't think these wolves have seen folks before, dude."
Yeah. They're a little curious. Oh
yeah. Yeah. No, it was cool. It was real cool, but no, he as Ronnie says, for a flatlander, he's tough as heck, man. He's tough as nails. That was a good hunt. And, we got some bad intel on it to start with. And the routes that we were planning on taking to get in there went from being pretty relaxed to pretty extreme pretty quickly, because a lot of the bridges that we were going to use to cover distance in the truck to get on a more gradual side of the mountain no longer existed. And it seemed like they had only been out for a short time, but we had no way to get back there. So we ended up hiking up the steep side of it. And yeah, it was nasty, man. Wasey did an awesome job, though. There were some points where I probably would have jammed out without him, you know?
Fair enough. I mean, sometimes you need that second person just to kind of like give you that push too, right?
Yeah, I mean, they say finding a hunting partner is harder than finding an old lady, right?
I don't fucking know about that.
I don't know, man. Yeah, that's funny. You're a single guy.
26 single. I don't know, man. It's not that easy to find an old lady.
Well, I think you're focusing more on hunting partners than old ladies.
That's probably part of the problem.
No, man, but it's like I'm lucky. I have a handful of guys that I like to hunt with, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, no, for sure. So you're back. You're getting after it. You guys got back from a northern BC hunt with a sheep down, and then a few days after getting back, I get a text message in the middle of the afternoon. Oh, I'm on sheep right now. I'm gonna go check them out. I'm like, who is this guy?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been a good start to the season. I mean, interesting summer. I didn't spend as much time scouting as I'd like to, but still got out and kind of planned. Well, I canceled. I'm sure I talked about it here before. I canceled my original plan for an opener stone sheep hunt. We were going to go 16 days. And then things kind of cleared up with work, and I was able to find some time and just kind of figure out my own stuff. And I was like sitting there and I'm like, oh, well, I can take, 8 days off in 2 weeks. And so I called my cousin there and I'm like, dude, can you take at least a full week off, maybe closer to 8-9 days? And called me the next day and he's like, yeah, let's make it happen. Let's go. So we pretty much just planned a trip on 2 weeks notice. Made some phone calls and talked to some people and just stuff that I know. And we're like, hey, threw a couple marks on a map and we're like, these are our options of where we're going to try and get into, and just kind of rolled with it. Right. We're relatively young, so it's not this whole like, oh, I need to train for a sheep hunt. Like that's you just kind of stay in shape year round at this point. Right. Mm-hmm. There's none of that. There's no prep or fitness. It's just kind of always ready to go sheep hunting. And yeah, we headed up on the 26th, I think 26th of August.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah. Right around there. And man, I don't know what was up with the both of us on, like, I would say the 3 days leading up to the trip, but we were both like in pretty rough shape. Don't know what it was, a man cold or whatever. And like we live 400 kilometers apart, hadn't seen each other in 3 months. Right. So it's not like we were hanging out and got each other sick or anything like that. Like, both of us like at the same time. And then, even the drive up, we both weren't feeling all that hot. We were planning to do a straight drive and then kind of head in right away. And it was just not in the cards. We're like, no, we got to get some sleep and get some rest. Cause I mean, we'll be done on day 3 if we don't do this properly. Yeah. And my hiking that first day was one of the worst hikes I've ever had. And I don't know what it was. Like, I'm not physically out of shape, but my body was beat, and took the first 2 days to kind of like get back to 100%.
Man, I don't know what's going on this August, but like there's some crazy head colds going around this year, and like you feel pretty fine, but when you start to push it, you're like just out of gas, man. Yeah, man. Like it was a decent pull in like where we had to get to, and we kind of made it up above tree line on the first day. Not as far as I would have liked to, but it was just at the point where I was like, I'm not going to push myself anymore. Mm-hmm. And, we made it to a decent spot after having a good run in with a big old grizzly bear. Yeah, I saw the video. Yeah, man. Like, you're 2 hours into a hike and
you just come around the corner and there's a, I don't know, 7.5, 8 foot boar standing there, like right in the middle of a horse trail. And you're like, all right, this is cool.
Hard pass.
Right? Just not what you want to see. And like, I can literally see the ridge I want to get to for day one. Like there's us, there's the bear 200 yards in front of us, and then there's a ridge like a kilometer away. And I'm like, maybe it was further than that. But anyway, close enough that like if I looked down with my spotter, I could see where the grizz would have been, kind of thing, from where I wanted to camp.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he didn't really cause us any trouble. We kind of watched him feed for a little bit, maybe 5-10 minutes. We had the wind pretty perfect and it was raining pretty good. And then he kind of, the wind swirled on us and he caught our wind and he kind of got a little curious, walked a little bit in our direction. And then we both me and Nick got a little weary, pulled our rifles off our packs, and we're just kind of like prepared in case. And he kind of, again, started smelling the air and then realized something was up and he didn't want nothing to do with us, spun around.
That's good. Yeah. You know, there's something about a bear that when it smells you, it doesn't peel off immediately. That makes you pucker a bit.
Yeah. I've had some interesting scenarios with grizzlies. I've had a grizzly at 20 yards, like a big boar. And, it was a real weird one too, because I knew he was there. He didn't know I was there until the same situation, but at 20 yards, not 200, until the wind swirled. And having a grizzly bear at 20 yards, get up on his back 2 legs, not knowing exactly where you are, because I was kind of tucked into some timber, but know that you're pretty close to him, was interesting. And lucky enough, my phone rang. I had cell phone reception where I was. And as soon as he heard that, he just turned and went the other way in that scenario. But
that's awesome.
And that's the East Kootenays. That's where that was. There's so many grizzly bears out there. It's stupid.
Yeah, no, it's wild, man. There's a lot of grizz everywhere, man.
Yeah. But anyway, for this trip, he kind of screwed off, and he was all good.
Good.
Oh, I didn't even I don't even know if I've told you this. Day one of the trip, before we even hike in or anything, we're out on the highway, and I'm sitting there, and this bull caribou walks up the highway. I'm like, that's cool. Like a young bull, right?
Yeah.
And 5 minutes later, this big RV, like diesel pusher, towing like a Jeep or something, comes by and stops, pulls over. He's like, "Are you a hunter?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Man," he goes, "Can you see that back there?" And I kind of like walk around the corner, and the same bull caribou is laying in the middle of the highway, like unable to get up.
What?
Just, got hit by a rig, I guess. Like a rig must have came through and just smoked it. Yeah. And like, obviously you can't shoot on the highway. There's no cell phone reception there.
No.
I'm like, oh man, what am I going to do? But yeah, I had a couple guys that came up behind us and they were hunters too from out that way, and just kind of had to use a knife to put it out of its misery and just kind of drag it off. And then those guys were going to drive up ahead and make a phone call to where they could get reception and call it in. But I was like, day one of the trip, I'm like, really? This is how it starts out? Like, kind of sucks to see that, right?
Yeah, that's brutal.
But anyway, Anyway,
that's
first
wild.
day. Yeah, it is what it is. First day we kind of got up and we were able to see some sheep right away, which was nice. Some ewes and lambs, nothing too crazy, but spent that night, got some cool pictures up above tree line, which was awesome. Just a typical northern hunt. Weather, of course, rolled in, and we had the next 3 days of pretty tough weather, a lot of rain, a lot of time in the tent. We were seeing sheep every day and still moving, thanks to my Kuyu rain gear. Had to throw that in there.
That's good.
But
I can edit it out, no problem.
Oh, you fucker.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Anytime you're up north and seeing sheep, seeing caribou, just seeing game, it's just so nice being up there, right, man? Like, nothing beats it. No goats where we were, which was kind of disappointing because I was expecting to see some.
Yeah.
And my cousin and I, or Nick and I, had kind of talked about it before going into the trip. He'd never sheep hunted ever in his life.
Yep.
And we kind of were like, okay, well, caribou, goats, whatever. He's first up to shoot. For sheep, I'd be first up to shoot. And that was kind of the deal and just what we had talked about. But we didn't see any goats. And then I think it was day 5. We'd got on some more rams and we saw some rams that we liked and wanted to get a better look at. And we're sitting there and I'm like, okay, I'm going to bed these rams tonight just because there's no way to make a play at them at the time we had. And all of a sudden I hear this like big huff of air or puff of air, like 30 yards behind me. And like automatically grizzly bears, what you assume, right? Spin around. We both reach for the rifles and there's this bull, like legal bull caribou standing 30 yards away from our tent. I'm like, whoa, okay. But he just spins around, takes off and goes back into like the timber. And I mean, we had just bedded sheep. We didn't really care about a caribou anyway. But yeah, next morning got up bright and early, and to our surprise, the sheep had actually kind of dropped out of the nasty bowl they were in, and it's just not super far above tree line in some cliff bands. And we kind of were like, hey, let's pack up, go up light, and make a play at them. Did it perfectly. Like it couldn't have gone any better. Got to within, I don't know, 250, I think, of these sheep that were bedded. Beauty. Yeah. And got in behind a rock, and I'm like, this is perfect. Like these sheep don't know we're here. There was a tipped out ram that I wanted to have a good look at, and then there was a heavier broomed ram. And all I could see was the heavier broomed ram. He was kind of looking our direction, just not at us, but that general direction. And then the way we had came up, I kind of screwed ourselves a little bit, and the tipped ram was kind of on the backside of a small knoll where the heavier ram was, and I couldn't see him, which kind of sucked. And then I pulled, I don't know if it's a rookie move or just bad luck, and I kind of pushed my spot and scope out from behind the rock we were tucked in just a little further to get a bit of a better look. As that's happening, the sun starts to come up over the mountain, hits my spotting scope. The glare must have gone right back at these sheep because he pinned me and started getting pretty weary. I'm like, damn. So I kind of pulled my spotting scope back in. Finally, the ram turned and looked, and I was able to get a good count on him, and I counted 8 a couple times. And like literally at the point where I like, this ram's legal. They both are weird enough to the point where they're not sticking around anymore. They get up and gone, go around this edge. And I know they're going to go straight up into this bowl. And, so I told Nick, I'm like, hey, I know that ram's legal. I know he's, at least 8 years old. And, we're going to wait him out. Like, let's give him 10, 15 minutes. Let's see if they calm down. And then we'll start working our way into where we can see up into where they went. And at this point, I'm pretty much like, I just blew these sheep out. And from what I know about sheep, usually they're going to go up over the mountain, and we're probably not going to get a decent look at them again.
Yeah.
But yeah, waited them out. Start kind of cruising in the direction they went, real slow. And kind of coming into a point where I can see up into this bowl, and I kind of dropped onto my stomach, and it's really steep there. I spin around, look up, put my binos up, and sure enough, there's those 2 rams, but they've gone like way up. And like, it pretty much took us an hour and a half to do what they did in 10 minutes. Maybe actually might take us longer than that, but they're way up there. I know this ram's 8. I want to make sure it's the same ram, that nothing's changed. I quickly rip out the spot and scope, put the spotting scope out, determine it's the same ram. He's legal. He's got the rings. And that was a conversation Nick and I had before the trip too, is that any aging or any confirmation of legality, just because he's never sheep hunted, was going to be like, I was going to be the one determining it. He'd have it look, but ultimately at the end of the day, I was the one who was going to make the call on the ram, right? So at this point, I've said nothing to him about anything other than that ram's 8 years old, at least. And so I look at the ram again, and I kind of have an idea of the stone sheep I want to take. I'm not the kind of guy that wants to kill a stone sheep every year, or a sheep every year for that matter. I mean, it'd be cool, but I do have a certain type of stone sheep I really want to take. And I really like a flared, pretty old ram would be what I want. And this ram he's broomed back to like 3/4, just not what I'm looking for. I took a ram last year, I kind of stopped, paused for a little bit, and looked over to Nick, and I'm like, okay, get set up. And he looks at me and he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, what is there to understand? Like, I told you, just get set up, get your rifle ready. And he's like, I'm shooting this ram. And I'm like, yeah, do you want to? He's like, well, that's a stupid question. Of course I want to shoot this ram. And so yeah, he was pretty excited in that moment. And the sheep had kind of calmed down at this point. So I was able to range him and get the readouts and get his turret set up get his readouts, and he was able to get his turret set up and get comfortable. And man, those gunworks do the job. Like,
Oh yeah.
And that caliber, the 7 SAUM, man, it's so impressive. The ones I've shot, his rifle, Justin's rifle now, can't wait to get mine done. Like, they definitely are a really good mountain caliber in my opinion. Just the ability to go down with such a short barrel and still be able to put out like 2,900 feet per second with a 168 grain bullet. Super impressive.
Yeah.
But anyway, I got on the ram. He was set up, and it was like, I don't know, 65, 70 degree angle, like shooting up. The correction was, it was like an 80% difference in the straight line to corrected.
Oh, wow.
Not 80% different, 20% difference. It was 80% of what the actual was. So that actually someone who's good at math might be able to do exactly what the angle was on that. I guess if I do in yardages, but anyway,
it was steep.
Yeah, it was fucking steep. It was steep enough that the fucker had to, like, he's like, I can't shoot because every time I go to get on my rifle, I keep sliding a foot down. And I'm like, so we're trying to figure something out. And then what we did was he used his boots and we dug a step into the hillside so that he could pretty much step up onto his rifle. And like, he was dead set at that point. Right.
That's
and,
awesome.
I'm like, okay, I'm on him when you're ready. We got our plugs in. I'm like, send her. And, he punched a shoulder on the first shot and the ram kind of did a spin, and I'm not one to let them die slowly. I just told him, put another one in them, and second follow up was like almost instantaneous, and just
that's awesome.
dumped the ram. Yeah. Ram took a good roll, and, man, we celebrated. I was like, it's done. Got a ram. I grabbed him. I jumped on top of him. We celebrated. We were stoked, right? Just screaming and hollering. And then the work began. And,
no kidding.
Getting up to that ram was tough. It was steep, and we're halfway up. And I tend to I get pretty excited. So I start to move pretty quick on the mountains. And sometimes I forget, Nick hasn't spent as much time in that kind of terrain as I have. But I'd look back. I'm like, where is this guy? Like, what's taking him so long? And we're like halfway up in a really nasty spot. And I'm like, what's going on, man? Like, you're not usually this far behind me. Like, sometimes there's a difference when we're hiking or whatever. And he's like, oh no, he's like, I'm just working up slowly. And it was that situation where he was trying to lift his head and he couldn't even lift his head up straight because he was hitting the frame of his pack. So I had to adjust it a little bit so he could get up, or just because he wasn't super comfortable with it. And I'm like, so for a bit of context, me and him have been friends since before we could even speak, right? Like, my parents are his godparents kind of thing. Like, and at no point was I ever aware of any of his fears, but I look at him and I'm like, are you fucking scared of heights? And he looks at me and he's like, yeah, dude, just a little bit. And it's fucking steep where we are, and you're looking down into the valley, right? And I'm like, oh fuck, really? I'm like, okay, well, don't look down, just watch my footing, and you're zigzagging and switch back in to try and get up mountain. And I would have I got up to the ram and he was a bit behind me, and he worked his way up there, and yeah, man, it was cool. We got some good pictures, and he was super stoked. It ended up being, it's a 9-year-old double broomer.
Nice.
Which is cool. Yeah. Can't really ask for, first gram, 9 years old, super impressive in my opinion.
It's not 7.
Yeah, fair enough. If Cole Hank was here, he'd have something to say there. Yeah. But he was super stoked, and man, we tried to work on it there, and it would just start sliding. So eventually I go to move the round to adjust, and all of a sudden it just goes, and starts tumbling down the hill, and it went probably about 120 yards before it got hung up on kind of a little bit of a ridge, which was nice. A lot better to work on him down there. But man, overall it was good. We got him out that night, and not got him out, got him back down to camp that night, and did some tenderloins out over some hot rocks in the fire.
Nice.
Oh, dude, it was no seasoning, nothing. One of the best meals I've ever had in the bush.
That's awesome.
Straight, fresh, stone sheep tenderloin.
That's cool.
And yeah. And the next day was the pack out day. We had to go about, I want to say 11 kilometers on trail. Like it was, I think it was 9 as the crow flies, or as the bird flies, whatever. I think it was 11 and a half on the trail, and we had to get up over a mountain, and that was tough. You got 110, 120 pound pack, because we still had, I think, 4 or 5 days worth of food left over, your camp, packing out a full ram. I mean, guys who are doing it solo and packing out like that much stuff. Like I packed out my ram solo. It took me 2 trips, but I didn't have a full camp or anything with me. Like it was a lot less stuff.
Yeah.
But to the guys who were killing stone sheep back in their solo and packing them all out, like you're a savage, man.
Yeah.
Guys do it. But yeah, we spent that whole day getting out. Got back to the truck, I think at like 4 or 5 o'clock. And Nick was beat. I was feeling all right. He was, I think I showed you the video. He was feeling a little rough.
I was going to say, I think I saw a video of him throwing up beside the truck.
Yeah, he was, it's just one of those things, right? If you don't do it all the time and, you know, you got over 100-pound pack and you got to go that distance and you got a good pull, it just beats on the body, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's something about pacing yourself in those situations, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I was a little bit I wouldn't say hard on him, but it was just like, for me, I struggle a lot when I have to take a lot of breaks. Like if I'm taking too many, I find it like it wears me down, and just the actual lifting back up or getting back up with a pack that heavy just takes so much out of me. That the last, like, I want to say 1.5 kilometers, 2 kilometers. I mean, this might not be the best example of a sheep hunting partner, but I was like, I can't keep taking breaks anymore, man. Like I just got to go for it. And at that point it was pretty much downhill, and I did. And it was a pretty clear horse trail, but it was, I could not physically keep doing the drop down and then have to roll onto my stomach, literally do a push up onto your knees and then use your trekking poles together. It just,
it's hard.
And I mean, you saw my feet. Like I don't know what it was with my boots. I love my boots, but this trip, my heels were beat. Yeah.
You just had some heel slip this trip, you think, or what?
Yeah, I went with a lot thinner of a sock than I ever have. I think that played a pretty big factor. When I doubled up, because I take my extra pair, I ended up having to double up. It helped, but it was like the damage was, it's one of those situations where the damage is kind of done at that point, right?
For me, as soon as I start having any kind of foot pain, the boot comes off to see what's going on, you know?
Yeah, I'm an idiot. It was raining on day 1 and I just wanted to get up there and push through it. It's probably where I screwed up.
I did that last year on my mule deer hunt. I got my feet wet on day 1 or day 2. And then the rest, the next 5 days, I just suffered just wet, nasty boots that I couldn't get dry. Yeah. They'd freeze solid at night. Then you get them thawed out and they'd just be mushy liquid. It was just brutal. My feet were just rotten for like a week after.
Yeah, that's tough, man.
On this goat hunt, I did, I ran a liner, like an ultra thin liner. And then I ran like a darn tough padded hiking sock on top of it. Yeah. Worked really good. Worked super good at night. I would pull the darn tough off in my bag and it would dry right out if it was wet from sweat at all. And
what bag did you end up running?
I actually ran my down bag.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which okay. I think was probably a mistake with the weather, and we were also running a floorless. So right. I think a floorless and a down bag is maybe not the best decision, but I'm pretty careful with it. Like I ran a big dry sack, and it goes in a compression bag and a dry sack. So
yeah. Were you running a single sleeping pad, or were you running something like a pad with a closed foam cell underneath?
No, I was running a Big Agnes insulated pad. The one with like the 4.8 or 4.9 R value. And then I just run a sheet of Tyvek under it.
Yeah.
Just for a little bit of barrier for moisture. But I mean, that system is like, I'm running a, what is it, 0 degree or even like a -10 bag. Or actually, I think it's like -18 Celsius, 0 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe. I'd have to look.
About right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a winter bag. Like I run that bag all year. I mean, I say it on the podcast all the time, but like I'm always cold, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say were you warm at all? But I guess if you're always running a little cold, then probably not.
Yeah, when I'm in the hills, I'm usually running cold. I'm usually not eating properly. I'm usually not hydrated. Like I don't know. I don't make stuff easier for myself just because I have some poor habits with food and stuff on the mountain.
Yeah, man, I think it's pretty common. Like you hear all these guys talking about you need like this amount of food and you have to do this, and it's like it's so personal, man, that I don't think there's a right or wrong. Like I'm like you, man. I don't eat properly when I'm up there at all.
Yeah.
Like at all. I don't eat enough, I find.
I have such a hard time getting motivated to eat. I mean, like Wasey was giving me crap on, I think day 2 or 3 or day 3 or 4, maybe. I don't know. He was just like, dude, you gotta eat and drink some water. Like we would go all day and I'd eat like an Eat More bar and have like a sip of water, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's not good for you.
No. I just have such a hard time getting motivated to eat when I'm up there.
Yeah. I mean, it can be tough. Drinking enough water is, I think, pretty key. I struggle with that at times, but
a lot of guys say running a bladder with a hose on your shoulder strap is the hot ticket to drink. That way it's just handy, you know, you don't have to reach down and deal with your water bottle. But I
run a bladder and I still find that I
really?
I try to be, like I got a 2-liter bladder in my pack that's always up over my shoulder. And then I'll run like a 1.5-liter Nalgene. Mm-hmm. So usually I got about 3.5 liters of water on me. Yeah. But I just I tend to overthink a lot of things, and I'll be like, you know, I'm not going to have water for this long. I'm not going to be able to get to water for this long. So I try to make it last longer than I really need to.
Oh yeah.
And did it a few times on this trip, and like I go take a pee and I was like, oh boy, I need to drink more water.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, my pee is orange. What is going on here?
Pretty much, man. Pretty much.
Oh yeah, I've been there. No, I ran a bladder for like all of 2018, and I had one let go inside my bag, and I was like, okay, that's enough of that. And I actually started running a bladder inside this Stone Glacier like sill kind of baggie that they make. It's like a bladder carrier. I don't know what it's called, but the idea is if the bladder explodes, it can't leak into the rest of your bag, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I might try a bladder again. I don't know.
Do you know a lot of dudes who have blown bladders?
I know a few. I mean, I think just me being one of them is enough for me to be apprehensive, right?
Yeah, because I don't personally know many people who have done that.
I think I was packing out an animal though when it exploded.
Fair enough. That might do it.
Yeah. So, yeah, man. So your first hunt of the year, sheep down with you and the cuz there, and you've been back in some sheep country playing since.
Yeah, man. You know me. I mean, everyone who listened to the pod knows how I am. Yeah, starting to look around for some bighorns. I don't know what the rest of my season's going to look like. I mean, I had this conversation with someone the other day. I feel like if you know what your season's going to look like before your season starts, you don't hunt enough. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's just how I am, but
I don't know, man. I often am pretty singularly focused on one species. So it makes it easy for me to say from, September 1 to October 20th or whenever I cut that elk tag, that's where I'll be,
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely be sheep hunting for the first half of the season before that shuts down. I just don't know if I'm really tempted to, and I've been talking to a couple of guys about making a run up north for another stone sheep hunt, like right at the end of the season.
Yeah. Well, I mean, before this stuff came up with my wife, we were talking about going and doing another poll in on my goat zone too.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, man.
That would have been cool.
Yeah. It won't happen now. I think my hunting season is looking pretty thin from here on out. I don't want to say too much about her medical stuff, but yeah, she's pregnant with our fourth, and she's living at the hospital for the next bit anyways, is what we can say. So
you're a crazy man.
That's not my fault. I didn't send her there. I guess I technically did.
I was gonna say, you for sure. She didn't do it on her own. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
I know it is 2021, but not this time.
Yeah, right. It's not really 2021 in my house. My house is pretty old school, so it's fine.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, no. So my hunting season is going to be taking a back burner to family stuff for a bit. Unfortunately, I think I'll definitely be scratching my blacktail itch, which I have been kind of already. But outside of that, we'll have to see how everything pans out here with the new kiddo and the mama. So
yeah, I mean, that always takes priority, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I say that as a 26-year-old single man with no kids.
Yeah, I mean, you seem to have an idea of how life works, so that's good.
Yeah. How old were you when you had your first?
Dude, I gotta do math quick. I think I would have been 29.
All right. See, I got time.
Yeah, totally. It only takes like 10 minutes.
10? Fuck.
Maybe
only
3, 2? I don't know. We'll have to take a poll. How long does it take, boys?
It can take under a minute. Depends.
I almost spat water into the computer. That wouldn't have been good. Oh man. So you're back on some rams in the Jeff Agostinho honey hole too, which is cool.
Yeah, it's just nice to get back on sheep. It's going to be a weird year just with all the fires. I think the next couple years. But
how dry was it? The first, I mean, what are we now? We're September 13th here. During archery season, I was in a couple different mule deer spots that I have regularly found deer in, and have a lot of buddies that have regularly found deer in that country. And just nothing doing, man. Just dry as a whistle. Like 2-month-old deer sign. Like all the deer were just down in the timber near water, you know?
Yeah, and some of these fires are still burning. Like one of the spots I go into, I was going to head into solo, and I got a way that I can kind of look at it from the outside. You can kind of look in. Mm-hmm. And so I went into that spot first, and I look and I'm like, just with my naked eye, I'm like, that's smoke. Like, put the binos on it. Sure enough, like the fires are still burning in there. I'm like, I'm not going in there by myself. Like that's just asking for trouble.
Yeah, it's dangerous, man.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say too much on the subject, but a lot of southern BC just got smoked this year. And I mean, there's a lot of interesting conversations going around with guys inside the conservation space, guys inside the forestry space on what is the best thing to do with these fires, and how do we, should we be doing anything? You know, that's sort of an ongoing discussion. And I'm not well read enough to have an opinion on the subject, but it sure is interesting stuff when you start hearing guys' arguments that they're making. Hey,
I've had a few conversations over the last couple of days, and there's so many opinions on everything floating around right now. It's getting a little stupid, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, my opinion, it's getting stupid, but
yeah,
you know, I said it to a couple of guys over the last 3 days. COVID has put us in this situation where, as organizations, as groups, and as hunters, we haven't. I'm speaking of hunting on its own right now. We haven't been able to get together. We haven't been able to see the guys we usually see 2, 3, 4 times a year, face to face.
Yeah.
Everything's been on social media. It's all been Facebook, forums, Instagram,
podcasts,
whatever it is. And I think it's really hurting the hunting community, like big time.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's back to fires. I don't know, man. It's tough. It's such a tough topic.
Mm-hmm.
Like you want to be like, yeah, I mean, great for habitat when you look long term, but it's like, what's it doing short term?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, no kidding. And the fallout effect of nearby communities is pretty unreal.
Oh, it's insane. I mean, how many places have been lost this year already, right?
Yeah.
Places, businesses, everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty wild, man. It'll be interesting. Just such a dry year, and it'll be interesting to see how, everybody's hunting season goes. I haven't seen the level of success out of a lot of the dudes I'm close with this year that I have in the past, with maybe a little wetter seasons, a little wetter summers going into these heading into the fall here. It's a lot of tough days for a lot of guys. I mean,
Really?
Oh yeah.
See, I've kind of been, I wouldn't say the opposite. Like talking to a few people, it's been a tough year for guys cutting tags on sheep.
Mm-hmm.
It's like thin horns up north.
Yeah.
So that's
not for you though.
Yeah. for sheep hunt, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, for him. And then, but like I got other buddies that are in the north doing some elk hunting and stuff right now, and they're doing well.
Oh yeah.
Some guys further east, south central BC,
mm-hmm.
Okanagan area and stuff guys are putting mule deer on the ground already. And
that's good.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting.
Maybe it's just the areas I'm plugged into or hurting right now.
Yeah. Who knows? It could be a number of different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know you tend to, like, just from our conversations, a lot of the spots that you tend to hit can have had a lot of effect from fires, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the spots I like are no longer existent. A couple of them look like they turned the microwave on high, man.
Yeah, it's really weird. I'd be interested to hear from people. Like, there's always this talk about fire mortality.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd be interested to see firsthand, like, what guys are seeing out there if they are hunting areas that were hit hard by fire. I know a lot of them you can't go into yet at this point, but there are areas you can. So it'd be interesting to see, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know how you quantify that though.
I don't think you really can, but I don't know. Our province, it's kind of shitty for wildlife, and you got the blue tongue thing going on with sheep down in Grand Forks, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna have old Gucci on here pretty quick to chat about that. I actually am just looking at a DM from him of his cell number, so I got to do that.
Yeah, I talked to Pete earlier today this afternoon.
Nice.
About it a little bit. We had a good chat, but yeah, it's super unfortunate with what's going on there, man. Yeah.
I listened to the podcast he did with Yonki on Journal of Mountain Hunting there, and yeah, I know it's a bummer. It'd be cool to get an update on it from when I heard that. Yeah,
I mean, hopefully. It's kind of one of those things, from what I understand from Pete. Like, there is no answer to it. Like, there's nothing that they can do to really stop it. It just is going to be what it is. And I think I heard him say a number like 70% or 60% of population will get wiped out due to blue tongue. And it just is what it is. There's not much they can do about it.
That's rough.
Yeah.
I thought I heard him say that they could proactively vaccinate sheep for it, which is pretty hard to do with a wild population of sheep, though.
Sorry, by saying they can't do anything, I mean at the point we're at right now.
Yeah. No, I thought I heard him say that, like, before this kind of thing happens in a population, they can vaccinate for it.
Really?
Yeah,
that would be interesting.
Pretty problematic to vaccinate a wild population of something.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work out.
Yeah, they might hold a rally or something.
Might hold a rally. Yeah.
Oh, too soon.
Yeah. How long? But don't bump.
Yeah, right. Hold on. I got one of those on here. Let me find it. There you go.
No, you didn't.
So what's next? What's cracking? You're gonna be getting after sheep?
Yeah, man, I'll be chasing sheep definitely until they close 15th to 20th, whether it be stone sheep or bighorns.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what I'm gonna do after that. It's been 5 years since I killed a mule deer.
Yeah.
Not for lack of seeing deer, but for just not seeing the deer.
Yeah.
So in one sense, I kind of really want to get after mule deer. So that might be that. That might be the answer.
I'm starting to reach that evolution in my hunting where, instead of trying to kill the first legal 4-point that I see, now I'm like, I kind of want a 4-point that looks like this, or I want this particular deer. You know what I mean? I'm kind of getting there. And,
it's a blessing and a curse all in its own.
Dude, it's the worst, man. Yeah. I passed some deer in archery season, and now, like, with having extra limited time to get out this season, I'm like, oh, why would I do that?
Yeah, no, I 100% get it. Like,
yeah,
last year I think I passed on, I want to say 25 or 26 legal bucks. Like they were in season at the time.
Stop.
What do you mean?
Just stop. I'm gonna be sick.
And by that I'm not saying the best buck I might have seen might have been 135, like 135, maybe pushing 140.
Okay, like a 135 to 140 inch buck in BC is a hard pass.
It's it's hard to pass.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I killed a 170 in 2016 that I've been trying to top. Yeah, but that might be a deer that you never top in BC.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
How many ones, like, okay, in your, so you're 26. So in your, whatever, decade of hunting, right?
Yeah.
How many 180 inch deer have you seen in BC?
One that would push it. Right?
That's what I'm saying.
My buddy's got a 191 that I need to beat.
Yeah, man, I know they exist because I have buddies that have them. It's just like, I don't know if it's genetics or if it's an environmental thing here in BC, but like you just don't see that many big deer come out of BC.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and the ones you do, it's like by guys that were just cruising a road on like September 15th, and they just happen to bump up onto the road and dump like this 175 mule, and you're like, well, guys hunt for 10 years to try and shoot something like that. And you did it on your third day of hunting on a road.
Totally. Like, I mean, one of my buddies here local to me, I think it's like 146 inch blacktail shot it from the road. It's like, for guys that don't know blacktails, that goes in the BC record book.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, I told you my story from like 6 years ago, right?
I mean, we talk so much. I don't know.
Dude, it was like December, 9th. My buddy just bought an ATV. I throw my old Weatherby Vanguard 308.
You did tell me this story is bad.
Right? Like my Weatherby Vanguard 308 with I was like 19 years old at the time, like had like no money to spend on hunting shit, right? Throw it on the gun rack of my ATV. We go out for a boot, like I said, because he just bought this ATV, and we're cruising up a well-known road in Region 2 of British Columbia, and this doe jumps out onto the road like 45 yards in front of me, and out comes this probably, I don't know, mid 120, 130 class blacktail, which is
like for guys that don't know blacktails, that's a really good deer.
Yeah, right. And like a symmetrical 4x4 mule deer type configuration. And he just like out onto the middle of the road, right up into the timber, and not thick timber. Like he's just looking at me. He's just walking, doesn't care. He's focused on this doe. And I pull out my rifle, and this piece of shit fucking scope, like, oh man, to this day, I like go to look through the scope and I can't see shit. It's so fogged up. And I'm like trying to clean it, trying to get the scope up. It's still fogged up, trying to wipe, like just Nothing I could do could get it right. And I just literally watched that deer walk off up into the coastal timber.
Oh, yeah.
And you know,
Gone.
and then
Gone forever. Out of your life forever.
And then Lawrence Charlesdale kills a fucking 156-inch buck with his bow in the Lower Mainland.
Yeah, from his bedroom window. No, okay, but here's the thing, okay? Check this out. So, given the opportunity, okay, hypothetical scenario, okay? You can shoot a 145-inch BC record book blacktail, okay? Or you can pick a spot on the map anywhere in Region 2 or Region 1 and grind it out for a couple years and learn it and learn all the deer in the area and watch those deer grow up and pick your deer and then spend years trying to kill them. Which one's better to you?
Oh, you're going to want to grind it out, man.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And like hold on.
Let me preface this by saying I don't fucking hunt blacktails.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so a lot of guys give me crap for having such a blacktail boner, but it's so accessible to us Lower Mainland dudes, man. Like, it's so hard, and it's like, what's funny is like we drive like 20 hours or whatever to go hunt northern BC, like go hunt coastal goats, and a lot of that terrain is the same as right where we live. It's wild, man.
Definitely very similar, yeah.
It's just wild. It's wild. All that space in the middle that you drive through is nothing like it. And then you get back home and you're hunting these stupid little 120-pound deer that are impossibly hard to kill. And you're like, oh, wow, I'm in the cliffs again. Great.
Yeah, man. I don't know what I think growing up, we hunted like the Pemberton area and Harrison area quite a bit when I was younger, like my old man and my grandfather and their group of friends. And like, they killed shit tons of deer out of there. Like, shit tons of deer. And they're all blacktail, right? Mm-hmm. And like, you walk in
Pemberton's questionable, right?
Yeah. Where we were hunting in Pemberton was blacktail. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess you could, even then it could be questionable.
I think it's outside of the actual border, right?
Yeah. I guess.
We'll talk about it offline, but
but yeah, anyway, like, and he's just got like, all they do is skull cap them. Like they didn't care about mounts or nothing like that, right? Yeah. But he's got like these 4x4 and 3x4 blacktails that like most guys would be stoked to take. Mm-hmm. And, back in their day, they just shot them for the meat, right? It was different times.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of those areas too. Like you have to remember the thing about blacktail that makes it so tough is like as hunting goes through these ebbs and flows of popularity and surging in new hunter recruitment and then hunters falling off after they don't get success in a couple of years. And we go through this whole cycle, right? Those Region 2 are the deer that get hit the hardest, I think.
You think so?
Yeah, man. It's so accessible. Like, I don't want to say the names of like some of the popular roads, but man, some of those roads you go on a Saturday morning and there's like literally 40 trucks on the road.
Yeah, but I feel like, and I know anybody who's from the 250 that's going to listen to this is going to laugh that I say this right now.
Yeah.
But it's like the vast majority of dudes hunting from 604 or, for guys in the States, what I'm referring to by 604 is like the Lower Mainland Vancouver area versus the remainder of our province. There's a very limited amount of good hunters in Vancouver. So yeah, there might be like 40 trucks out there, but 38 of them don't leave the seat of their truck.
Here's an interesting conversation I had with a buddy the other day too. And we were talking about the number of absolutely killer hunters that aren't on Instagram, that aren't on, this podcast, that aren't on, Journal, that aren't on Facebook posting what they're shooting. There's a lot of guys that are absolute slayers that we'll never know about,
Oh, there is for sure. But I still do think that a lot of what you could refer to as killers in BC, I would say the majority of them live outside of Vancouver, the Lower Mainland.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to quantify too, though, right? But
for sure. And I say that mainly because they just have the ability to spend a lot more time and get a lot more experience in the outdoors generally than most people who live down here in the Lower Mainland. And, a lot of us, in order to make it, you kind of work. You got to work a lot down here and you don't get to spend as much time out there. I mean, I do, I guess, spend fucking shit ton of time hunting, but
yeah, well, me too. But I think we've both structured our lives that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
That being said, though, man, like I think a crappy. I shouldn't say crappy. I think an inexperienced hunter puts a lot more pressure on animals than an experienced hunter. You know what I mean? If you and I go through a cruise through the woods together, and we have the wind right, and we're paying attention to stuff, and we're trying to kill stuff, it's a lot different than, even the to say the term I don't like to say, even we have an even smaller footprint than the, in air quotes, non-consumptive user. You know what I mean? Like they're pushing deer and elk and moose and bears and all kinds of stuff around. They don't even know it, and like these guys that are just getting into hunting. I mean, you grew up hunting with family, so it's different. But like when I started hunting, like as an adult with not having any experience, like, you watch a couple shows on TV and that's your introduction to hunting, right? You're walking through the woods like a complete knob. Just, I couldn't tell you how many, deer or whatever else I bumped. I mean, I have no idea at this point. Right.
No, and even when you are experienced, I mean, you're still going to bump animals and stuff, right?
Yeah, but I just think the impact is so much greater when you don't know what's going on, right?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, I sometimes forget about the fact that I've been doing it since I think I got my core when I was 10 years old. I think
that's 20, awesome.
Right. But, I don't know. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. I'm just glad that it's fall now at this point, to be honest.
So you're saying you're not going to be a blacktail hunter is what you're saying?
No, dude. No fucking chance. Like, I don't know how many people have asked me like about blacktails or like this and that. I'm like, why would I want to go shoot those little deer?
They're so hard to kill, man.
Yeah. Like if I would rather go chase an elusive 190-inch mule deer until I'm 75 years old sitting in a rocking chair.
Yeah.
Than chase those fucking things.
You know what the best part is about where we live? You can do both, man.
Yeah. Well, you can, but I feel like you should focus on one or the other. Cause I mean, to really dial it in and hone it in, you got to spend a pretty fair amount of time on one or the other.
Yeah. I mean,
unless you've got fucking 343 trail cams.
Hey, let's not talk about my trail cam obsession on here. Okay. Yeah, I do have an absurd number of trail cams, but
dude, when you told me the number, I can't even remember what it was, but
I don't want to say my wife might listen to this. So
I'm like, who is this guy? This guy is single-handedly funding all of these trail camera companies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? Yeah, 100%. Like if the government ever wants like a, like a good census done on a couple different species in BC, just hit me up. I'll send you over some stats.
Or some cameras, because you get a lot of those too.
Yeah. Oh man. That's cool. Well, I'm glad you're doing good. I'm glad you got your cousin there on a sheep, and you guys had a successful hunt together. And I look forward to see what you come up with the rest of the year, man.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully something. Hopefully 190-inch mule deer and a 165-inch stone sheep. Yeah,
at least.
A man can dream. I might jump in with Matt and go help those guys kill some winter goats.
Are they going like next? Oh, goats. Yeah. I was going to say like next weekend, like in a couple days. Like that seems like short notice, bro.
No. Those guys are taking off for that. They're doing a caribou hunt in a couple days, but Matt's got that winter goat tag with Zach. They've been kind of busting my balls to come and join it. Even after I said I was taking a year off winter goat hunting, but
yeah, you're a crazy person. That I've said on here many times. That's not for me.
Yeah, but I feel like in November it might be a little bit more mild.
Yeah, I don't know. That's when Ronnie goes too. So
you're just really battling the weather. I mean, honestly, any time between November and February, you're really battling the weather. But
dude, we were battling the weather in August. I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Yeah, I guess that's fucking true. It kind of just comes with the territory of hunting in BC.
Yeah, we're always getting our asses kicked. So,
right, we got to go down to fucking Colorado or I gotta go to Montana. I'll be in Montana next year.
Montañas. Go to Montana.
I'm so excited to be down there. It'll be awesome.
I just assumed you were talking about eating ribs, not going hunting there.
No, dude. I could care less about eating ribs. I'm not going to Montana. I only have ever stepped foot in Montana as like the rib place.
Nice.
I'm gonna go to Montana and kill me a nice antelope.
Do it. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I will be.
Nice, man. Okay, right on. Let's pull the plug here. It's my bedtime.
Sounds good, dude. Me too.
Okay, later, bro.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and leave us a review. If you want to support the podcast, please check out the gear on our website at wildernesslocals.net.